Blessings, Facebook. Mary Costello here. Just wanting to share some energies today of what is coming through. So, this live today, stealth, grace, stealth, the stealth of grace, miraculous allowance within the prime creator's bandwidth. So I'm just wanting to give so much honor to everyone. We have done so much to restore principles, and let's say all the nuts and bolts are here. We have the knowing of the nuts and bolts, right? We have done so much discovery and memory of the bits and pieces of creation, the principles of creation, the mechanics of creation, and wanting now to introduce the operating frequency, so that we can bring these things into their fluid, cohesive function. We are wanting to bring through eternal, these are eternal principles. So now we want the eternal creator's frequency, which allows these principles to operate together, to run together like mechanical golden clockwork. Because that's what we're here for. We're creators. We're creators. So I'm just noticing places where we are keeping ourselves out of the eternal creator frequency, or the prime creator's bandwidth, and keeping ourselves in perhaps individuation or disassociation or disembodied different states of being in disembodied ways, or disassociated ways, or dispassionate ways, or apathetic ways. So just wanting to speak on a few different things to allow, this frequency to be remembered, the operating frequency to be remembered, and then to be chosen. Because the beautiful thing about this is I'm talking about the eternal operating frequency of creation. I'm talking about the symphony of creation, which we are to be a part of, and which we are fine-tuning our instrument to be a part of. And to learn the way of it, to learn the way of that song, to learn the way of that frequency, and to choose it, is to be usable by the Creator. And that gives us the joy and the abundance and the bliss of the rest, like the rest of creation, the way the rest of creation, the rest of nature lives and operates in bliss and joy and expansion, and a complete lack of self identity, self individuation. Like, they say, of course, every fruit tree, like no fruit tree eats its own fruit, right? The fruit trees, they grow fruit to give. The birds sing to wake up nature, to get the day kick started, right? So I wanted to bring us back to that place of the dawn chorus, to be in the allowance of running the prime creator frequency, the symphony through us, and by doing that, we are waking up. We are becoming the dawn chorus, the cohesive song of creation. We have already done so much to bring our instrument to be ready for this, to be primed for this, to release so much. And then all of the power of the Creator goes with that. And this is the bit that people maybe are resisting, because people like individual power, perhaps. People like individual free will, perhaps, as opposed to placing ourselves in the way of the Creator's will. And the Creator in this moment, when I speak of us as a body of humanity, the Creator for us, the capacity we can be part of that, is as one cohesive body, one living, breathing, creative body, one living, breathing body of one. And that requires compassion. and humility and humanity, that, that doesn't, and some of the ways of individuation, free will, conquesting, hierarchy, superiority, the different ways, competition, scarcity, they take us away from that. And it just makes our life a whole lot more difficult, but also less efficient, less effective. We are so much less effective. We are here to bring peace and harmony and abundance and liberation for the whole of humanity. And we are so much less effective when we are in the frequency of the conqueror, the frequency of the conqueror, the dominion frequency, the frequency that says that I am, I claim this, I take this for me, I have my free will, I have won this, this is my identity, this is who I am. Whether that's an identity of being the hero or the villain or the victim or the predator, whatever, operating in that way, it's just taking the wind out of our sails. And we have done so much to bring ourselves to the place where we are now. I just want to offer this memory, this remembrance of what our true operating frequency is, our operating bandwidth. There is so much within this bandwidth. This is an eternal bandwidth. And when we are within this, we are blessed consistently with grace, we call it coincidences or synchronicities, right? Because it's a dance. When we are in this bandwidth, we are in the dance, we are in the symphony. So we are blessed with synchronicities and we think they're just miraculous. But this is the way it is. This is the way it is supposed to be in it all the time, as much as we can allow it, So speaking of stealth, grace, miraculous allowance. So this is where I want us to come to. When I say stealth, the stealth of grace. Grace is a force, an eternal force of love that can open the unopenable, can move the unmovable, that can bring so much fracture to cohesion. Grace is the stealth, the force of love, the way love moves in the world, how it sounds, what it looks like, how it feels. And grace works in unseen ways, in ways we don't quite know, but we can, like I say, we see the synchronicities, we see the dance of grace, we feel the joy of it and we feel the bliss of it, but maybe we don't quite know how it happened. So in that, when we choose this frequency of love, fearless love, unifying, compassionate love, we're also giving an opportunity for the angels and the ancestors to be with us, to work their ways through us. We are placing ourselves in the correct place within the conduit of creation, And it is correct and right to be within your lineage, within a conduit, because at all times we want to be illuminating the internal pattern, the beginning, the precious sacred beginning of creation, which is in each person. And when we stand in correct relation to our lineage as a conduit of creation, we are at all times kept centered and grounded, and every movement is filled with the first pattern, the first beginning of ourselves. I want to speak on within this bandwidth, the creator's bandwidth. So I'm talking about compassion, love, eternal love, grace, goodness, also simple goodness. We also have the power of command in this space. On this frequency, we have the power of command. We may notice when we are in the other frequency of scarcity and individuation and separation, we may have a kind of a clawing, and we might witness this in ourselves and in others, a clawing entitlement, a pulling and a pushing and a pulling, a taking, a giving and taking, a constant conquering. Like, when people are speaking in argument or having contention between each other, that is not the creator's frequency. That is the convoluted frequency. So everything that has every twisted convolution that we are witnessing, that we have to look at and think about, what do we do with this? It is created almost like the original creations have been done from the mind of the angelic human, and the convoluted interpretations, taking from the energy of the angelic human to construct something else. It's using the beautiful, the one body of the angelic human, the one body of humanity, to run a false frequency, to perpetuate and uphold and sustain through our own mechanics. It's our own mechanics that sustain this and run this false, convoluted frequency. So what I'm offering is that when we are witnessing, and as we are witnessing these twisted, convoluted ways, and perhaps these convoluted ways, they appeal to, of course, they come to us. Everything is coming to us. Everything is coming home for direction. The inclination to respond to them on their frequency, to argue and to try to do the push and pull, the winning and the taking, etc. The inclination to do that is strong, but that actually feeds that frequency. That frequency is fed by contention. And if it can take our wholeness and split it into two, and where we have, take us out of equilibrium, we are feeding it and sustaining it more. So somehow, and this is an invitation to everyone, this is a place where we all are. So I ask the question, knowing that we are all part of the answer. Wanting to get to the place where we know how to, and we know the way of, and it is gifted through us, and it is just known in every moment, how to respond to these convoluted things as they come back to us. How to respond, how to embrace everything with the Creator's frequency, which is love. And the Creator's frequency is love is the only frequency that can allow cohesion, that invites cohesion. It is the only frequency that removes contention and invites cohesion. So that is where we are, and I'm just speaking this so we can all be thinking these things together, right? We are, to remember we are not above prayer, and we are not above angelic assistance. This has been something that has been kind of thrown away by many people, feeling that they don't have the place to pray. I have been told, I remember I was told, with this obsession with free will, I was told by someone, it's wrong to pray for people, that it's an imposition, it's to trespass. So again, these delusions of boundaries have limited our ability to impact. When we integrate these delusions of boundaries, these delusions of free will, and these precious egoic boundaries that we have to recognize and nod to continuously, we find ourselves in a place where we're afraid to speak. We're afraid to speak, and we are afraid to pray. And I want to invite us out of that. It has always been our business to pray. It has always been within our remit, and it's always been asked of us to pray, and also to command from the place of love. And also to ask the angels to assist us. That has always been a part of our toolbox. So calling that back in for all of us who wish for it. Let us not recognize false boundary. Let us not recognize false occupation. Let us not recognize the rationed allowance, conditional allowance offered to us. And let us use our voice for what it's intended to be. Our voice is opening sound waves, birthing reality. And we have the power of command with that, and we have angelic assistance with that. And this is what I talk about, the stealth of grace, a miraculous allowance. Within this operating frequency, we are inviting a lot more than ourselves. We are inviting a lot more than this one person in this one space. We are inviting miraculous movement. We are inviting change and evolutionary leaps beyond our comprehension. We are recognizing with humility that there is much beyond our comprehension. And we are recognizing with humility where we are to stand within the conduit of creation. And we are not here to earn our stripes. We are not here to place our flag in the ground. We are not here to be named the victor. We have all been crowned in the womb. Every one of us is crowned by our mother within the womb. We are the royal family of humanity. It's one living, breathing family. So we are here to learn the way of the Creator, to learn the way of the symphony of creation, and to be it, to be in the way of it, to be available to it, so that we can do the will of the one body of humanity. We can with our every breath is of the one living, breathing, cohesive body of humanity. Because we are not going anywhere without everyone else. We are one living, breathing organism. So, wanting to speak on prayer and wanting to speak on crystal song lines. And I have seen this. I have felt the power of command. I have felt the power of command to remove evil from a house, and watched, a moment where I was involved in a moment of that, where my mother commanded that evil left the house. It left the house, and our lives were saved because of that. So no one can tell me, not to speak the word Jesus, or not to speak the word prayer. No matter, there's so many limitations on our speech. And in the New Age spiritual community, there's more and more sets of rules about what we are allowed to say. And all I can feel from that is more of the same, this fractured, fearful, contentious way of operating. And I don't agree with it. So I will speak the words that I know have impact, because I've witnessed them. And I will not learn the words of anybody else because they say so, I will speak the words that rise from within me. I speak what rises from within me, because I trust my innocent voice. I trust my primitive voice. So the crystal lines of prayer. I have seen this with women. I've actually seen this with, I tuned into Donald Trump, actually, when the day that they were counting all their votes and everything. And I could see these crystal song lines held through and around him by the women in his life. Now, I'm not trying to create a political statement, but what I'm saying is that those women held him in complete, comprehensive protection by prayer. I could see it, how it worked, because I was interested to see, because I knew, I was wondering how on earth was he still safe and protected, and I saw it. I have also seen the opposite. I have seen the shadow spell lines cast. So that was a beautiful crystal prayer web cast, a net cast around him as one person. But that is for all of us. We do this for each other. We do this for ourselves. And we are to do this for the whole of humanity. But I've also seen the opposite. I've seen shadow lines, like spell lines, cast between women around other people. And it's not just between women, but it's women's voice is so incredibly powerful that I think that's why it's shown to me through the example of women. Everyone has the ability to cast beautiful song lines of protection, and everyone has the ability to cast shadow spell lines. So it's, but I saw the example with women. And I just, those shadow lines look like, speaking worry around people, speaking gossip around people, speaking slander, speaking manipulation around people, play acting, using the voice to create, to conjure, so I've seen the damage that does as well. But I only bring that up to point out how powerful our voices are, and how what I'm going to be asking for next, how I really do feel it could create a massive change instantly. I will be asking for, and I'm asking for now, a gathering of all of us, as many as physically possible, to create a crystal cast, to create a crystal cast of prayer, immaculate prayer around the whole of earth, the whole of humanity. And I ask that this, the frequency of the Creator is the operating frequency of this, and that the power of command is used within this gathering. I understand people do like silent meditation and different things like that. I don't do that. I do active compassion, which is breathing out all into one. And I do power of command. So that's what I'm offering. And I will be working towards that. I don't know how that's going to look, but I'm sending that out for everyone. And the only permission for that is that you must come on the frequency of love, come in humility and humanity. That's it. Come with humility and humanity, with no feeling of competition, no feeling of self-proving, no feeling of contention, no feeling of dominion. Come with on the frequency of love, compassion, humility, and humanity, and we will gather, and it will be powerful, and we will see what it can actually do. So, blessed is the fruit of her womb. Blessed is the fruit of her womb. Blessed means protected and favored. So, if we are all within the creational womb, we are all fruit of the womb. Every single one of us is fruit of the womb. Then we are to be blessed. So let us bring the whole of the creational womb, the body of one, the living, breathing body of all of us in crystal cohesion. Let us bring that to a blessed state, a perpetual blessed state. I want to speak on compassion and the difference between compassion and empathy. I was told once by a self-proclaimed narcissist that the reason he was, that he and I had a connection was because I was an empath and he was a narcissist, and they run on the same thing. He says you can't have one without the other. And I thought about that, and I realized that the frequency which the empath works on, which is just, and when I say, and I don't mean, I'll use the words that I know, what I've seen empath to be is someone who absorbs pain, consistently absorbs pain. And so they find it very hard to be certain places. And there's a lot of things they have to stay away from. So I just want to note the distortion in the word empath, the distortion in the action of empathy, which is just the absorption of pain, of collective pain. And I would like to say that in my knowing, vampirism operates on the same frequency as empathy. Empathy is a kind of a bleeding heart, and it is the life supply of the vampire. I want to offer let's say the unified operating frequency of that, because that is a dualistic state, because there will always be something for the empath to feel and be in pain about. And therefore, there will always be something, like in that dynamic of empathy, there will always be something for the empath to feel and to bleed for. And that means there will always be a consistent life supply for the vampire in that space. So I want to bring us to a place of compassion. Compassion is feeling, yes, feeling everyone as one, feeling everyone as one. But it is in the knowing that we are one. It is in the knowing that there is actually a light function to compassion. There is a mechanic to compassion. There is a mechanic to the breath. There is a mechanic, a function, a life function, and an ability to the heart of compassion and to the breath of compassion, to the voice of compassion. And this mechanic, this ability is power. As I say, it's within the creator's frequency. So it has the full stealth and power of grace. So to know that, yes, we are cohesed as one and we feel each other compassionately. But we are only feeling it so that we can bring it to its light. We can bring it to its correction. We are not feeling it so we can endlessly, empathically be in pain and be brought to our knees in pain and grief and continue to feed the operating system that wants us to be in that state. We are coming from a place of compassion. It is the place of knowing, the authority of knowing that everything is to be cohesed as one. And if everything is to be cohesed as one, and we know this, that means we have the ability to do it. Otherwise, why would we know it? Why would we be so frustrated with separation and division if we didn't know the right way of fixing it? So as we are feeling the frustrations and limitations of what we are able to do, as we are seeing the distance between what we observe, the grief and the sorrow of what we observe, and the limitation of what we are actually able to do about it, we must realize that, through love and through grace and through allowance and compassion, we can close that gap between what we're able to do and what we want to do. And the first step is to know that we have the authority and also the responsibility to close the gap and to get from, the idea of empath or observer or detached observer is a fallacy. You cannot be a detached observer of life. We are a piece of life. We are a living, breathing piece of the one living, breathing body of humanity. And we know each other through our breath. We know each other through our heart, through compassion. Our breath has a light function. There is within the sternum, within the high heart, there is a function for us to bring our breath to the Creator's rainbow breath, where we are able to process everything. We are actually to breathe in the absence. We are to breathe in the shadow, breathe it all the way back in, all the way back. The inhale goes all the way back to Mother. And the exhale is the power of the Father. That is the rainbow creator's breath. We are actually to breathe in the dysfunction and the pain and the disease and breathe it out in purity and light again. We have that light function within our breath. In the heart, we have a vortex within the heart which weaves and coheses and brings in light together, in togetherness, into a braid. So I just want us to look at, to come out of the place of feeling and come into the place of action, come out of the place of observation and come into the place of mechanic. We are mechanical creators. We have a system of mechanics within us. And when we are observing things and feeling them, we must take it a step further and understand the only reason we're feeling them is because they are to be gathered into our hands, so we can bring them, restore them to what they are to look like. And the quickest way to restoration is to choose the frequency that the Creator operates on, because then we have the full power, stealth, assistance of the Creator, the eternal Creator, the Creator within us. We have that to help us. Okay, so So be the question and invite the answer. When we feel the frustration, be the question and invite the answer. Compassion is the voice of reason. Compassion is the voice of reason. It is the only reasonable position to take at this stage. When we are trying to bring everything back together, when we are trying to liberate humanity, we know that in the balancing out of things, everything will be brought to account. Everything will be brought to account. But the way of getting there is compassion. Compassion is the voice of reason at this time. Everyone has a story, everyone has a way of being, and everyone has reasons for the way they are, and the limitations that we all have, and the frustrations we all have, or the inactions that we've all had perhaps, or the missteps that we've all had. So just to know that we are coming back to one, and to give an allowance of compassion and the gift of grace and the benefit of the doubt, and appeal to each other's goodness. Humanity and humility bring us to be vibrationally known as trustworthy. So we are all being vibrationally known. We are known by the heart. We know each other by the heart. I say the heart, I mean the crystal that vibrates, the core of who we are. And, as much as we clarify that and send it out and breathe it out and understand it is to be cohesed with all, we are known by others. And it is our humanity and humility which will open doorways of trust from others. Trust is a beautiful gift from others. It is my favorite thing, is to be trusted more than loved and respected or anything else. Trusted is my favorite thing to be given. It's such an honor. And humanity and humility and compassion open stories of trust, and bringing us to trust each other is so important, because we are to cohese and unify, to be one breath, to be the Creator's breath, to be the one divine will. Let's release the shallow breathing. Let's release the shallow free will, the individual will, the individualized will, the superhero stuff, because it is just so much more efficient and effective and intelligent and reasonable to be compassionate and to be cohesed and to do the divine Creator's will through us. And we all feel it. We feel it through our intuition and our inclinations, our purity, our innocent inclinations, our rising desires of what we want, the way we want the world to be, and the way we want the world to be for people. This is the way the Creator speaks through us. It's rising intuition, rising love, rising bliss and joy and passion, and the ways we want things to be. And that sends out the question, and the answer is coming through in streams of eternal grace, like something I've never seen before, that I can't remember. And we're just asked to have softened robes, have opening, allowing robes, to have open, soft hands, like hands that are compassionate, that can move things, that can make things malleable. We are asked to receive this way. We are receiving the grace of the Creator, the grace of the heavens, to help us, and we are just asked to receive it, and to know how to receive it, and to do its will, do the will of the Creator. And we are given more and more. So humanity and humility brings compassion. It allows us to feel compassion to begin with. It allows us, when we are in our humility and humanity, it takes us out of, and I hear it and it bothers me terribly, so much rationalization of people's suffering. so much rationalization of people suffering. I have heard some nasty things like, oh, the people aren't as evolved, so they have to suffer, or people chose this suffering, or whatever. All of these different things. I've also heard on the other side, like people who have worked so hard to evolve, let's say evolve, they have also kind of a kickback where it's, or a sting in the tail of kind of like, I've done so much, therefore I deserve, or I've suffered so much, therefore I deserve to be first. A true leader leads from behind. A true leader leads from behind and doesn't stop until everyone's home free. So humility and humanity brings compassion. Compassion is the voice of reason. It is the only way we will become one. Compassion invites grace. Grace is the power, the unseen power, the eternal force that we just do not even have we only have an inkling of the power of it. We see it in the symphony. We see it in the synchronicities, the gorgeous little precious moments that happen when we're in the state of bliss and love and joy and allowance and forgiving and kindness, softness. We see the synchronicities and they're gorgeous. This is to be always, in every breath. That's grace. So we have all had inklings of it. And compassion for ourselves, compassion for all others, and compassion, what it looks like is a one breathing plasmic heart, where everyone is brought into the one breathing, moving plasmic heart, the whole of humanity. I've seen this, and I know this can heal the world. I know this can change things quickly. And compassion looks like one living, breathing rainbow breath with which we're breathing in what needs to be removed from the body of one, all the way back to the mother, filling with the love of the mother and exhaling with the power of the father. It's just bringing the mother and father's love, basically running everything through the unified love of the mother and father. And I see that as a rose pattern in the sternum. I know people say the high heart, and this is the crystal heart. And grace brings allowance. Grace opens doors that we never would believe could be opened. Grace moves mountains, and grace brings allowance. Miraculous allowance. Miraculous allowance. Okay, so stealth force occupies the bandwidth of love. So this stealth force wants to be on our side, so let us invite it. And remember, we are in the symphony, we are in the dance of love, the dance of creation, where it is invitation and receptivity. There's no give and take, there's no push and pull, there's no concession granted, there's no proving. It is invitation and receptivity. It is a dance. It is breath. Okay, the Creator's Symphony. Let's not take ourselves outside of the Creator's Symphony. Let's not take ourselves outside of the Creator's Symphony. We are all held. I say we are held by the body of Mother. We are held by the sound body of Mother. We are held by the symphony, the Creator's Symphony. Anyway, no matter what. And when we wrap ourselves in stories of individuation, based on trauma, based on pattern, based on habit, based on the stories we've told ourselves, that we usually when a fracture happens and trauma happens, it's so traumatic, it kind of fractures the consciousness, and we create a story to hold ourselves together. So when we are doing that, we are still within the holding of the mother, but we are taking ourselves out of hearing and attuning to and channeling through the Creator's frequency. We're taking ourselves into a place of individuation, isolation, the feeling of scarcity, the feeling of being unlovable, the feeling of being detached, takes us actually into a downward decaying spiral. It is the opposite of life. We cannot grow, we cannot expand in that spiral. Okay. And on the other hand, compassion, love, bliss opens up the ever expanding upward spiral of life, the crystal spiral of life. And this is what gathers everyone, brings everyone together. This is what creates cohesion. And in the end, we are to be indistinguishable, one living, breathing body of humanity, crystalline, singing and humming and breathing and moving and intuiting and dancing and harmonizing and creating to the crystal song of the Creator, to the crystal intention running through our DNA, coming from our eternal mother, and just filling that space of oneness with this unified plasmic heart, which is this plasmic heart is the way of electrical knowing, how we know each other energetically. So we will never be cut off from each other again. And filling the space with this beautiful Creator's breath, which is the pure love of Mother and Father. It's the breath of life. Relieving the body of one of the harm and disease, and restoring the body of one with eternal breath of life. So this is where we are. So choosing bliss. Let's not keep ourselves outside of love. To be in love is to be in the place of growth and restoration and healing. So whatever that requires, give that to yourself. Because we cannot give from an empty cup. There is no giving, there is no life produced, there is no overflow produced from a place of self-sacrifice or self-denial, a place of hardship. My friend and I announced 2025 was going to be, the theme is soft life. Soft life. And when I say that, I mean a soft, sweet life, but I also mean the power of softness. I mean the power of softness, the movement of compassion, the movement of an open, unified plasmic heart, the movement of the breath of life, the singing of the sweet symphony of the Creator. So yes, soft, but powerful, right? Because there's stealth in softness. This is how nature moves. This is how things grow, in softness and allowance, unfolding, openness, and always in cohesion, always in compassion, always knowing that everything is part of the one. So come back from the lie of individuation. By all means, celebrate yourself. Enjoy, dress the way you dress, be the way you are, enjoy your individuality, in your uniqueness. But the lie of individuation that casts you outside of attuning to the symphony of one, that casts you out, the lie of individuation that casts you outside of the consistent feeling and knowing of the unified plasmic heart and the unified breath of Creator. Bring yourself back to that. And the quickest way that we create change, and all, as I said, we've all the nuts and bolts, all the principles of creation. We have done so well to get this to this place. We have them, we understand. We have a lot of things clarified. And the quickest way to gather all those bits, those cogs, those mechanics back into operation, seamless operation, is to run the Creator's frequency through ourselves. And that is love, bliss, joy. Every birth comes through, the frequency of birth is joy. So if we're in a funk, get into those frequencies of bliss and joy, and whatever that means, as simple as that may look. It does not have to be grand gestures and grand decisions. It can be the smallest thing that brings you to joy. You do all the work We're all doing the work. We're doing the steps and the releasing and all the hard work and the decisions. But when you want it to come together and to start singing and humming and dancing, choose something that brings you joy, and you will see how quick and how incredible that the symphony reveals itself to you. And then I would say choose joy from this day on, choose joy, bliss and love every single day, every single moment. And we're not turning our back on suffering. We are gathering in the way that we actually can. We do not gather by, like I said, empathic swallowing of suffering. We do not gather by fighting the convolutions and the distortions. We gather by cohesion, and cohesion can only be done on the frequency of love. Okay? So much love. I've said so much, and just trust yourself. Be well. Thank you all so much for being with me. If this feels real, please share it. If this feels real, please share it. And yeah, let's get together and figure out a way to create a beautiful, powerful cast of crystal prayer symphony around this earth, and how to bring in the power of command and the frequency of love to create a moment of reclamation, of sacred eternal reclamation. Because that's what we have, that allowance. We have that allowance. And that is also expected of us. All right. Blessings, everyone. So much love. Take care.